Hello, welcome to the DevOps Summit Canada 2021. My name is Siddharth Parekh. We are here to do a panel discussions about women leadership in DevOps. A quick introduction about me. I'm part of the NatWest Group DevOps Center of Excellence practice. NatWest Group is a bank of brands. If you've heard of NatWest Market, NatWest International, Royal Bank of Scotland, Coutts Bank, Adam and Company, Lombard Insurance, and the list goes on. And NatWest Group is 400 years approximately old banking and financing. With me, we have a panel of people. I'll quickly ask a brief, quick introduction from each one of you. Let's start with Taparna.
Hello, hi Siddharth, and thank you for inviting me to this summit. Um, Thanks for my fellow people as well, Shivagami and Bhavna being a part of this panel. And my name is Aparna Balasundar. I'm based out of India, Hyderabad, and Chennai at the moment though. I work as a senior manager for the DevOps practice with Capgemini in the Asia Pacific region. I have doubled up multiple roles as Scrum Master as well for a couple of healthcare customers right now. So it's been great and looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you. Over to you, Bhavna.
Thanks, Aparna. And hi, everyone. I'm Bhavna Naruna. I'm based out of India, Noida. I'm working in Excel Technologies as a vice president, part of CIO organization, head digital innovation, cybersecurity, DevOps. I'm also co-founder of VVNT Foundation, which works for underserved people for skill development and employability. I'm very happy to be part of this discussion.
Thank you. Shivagami, over to you.
Hi, my name is Shivagami. So I'm the group CTO for IDC Technologies. Prior to this, I worked for the Emirates Group for more than two decades. Heading a lot of roles there and leading the transformation there, the site reliability engineering, DevOps. So recently, I authored the SRE practitioner course for DevOps Institute with a lot of my fellow ambassadors. And I'm an evangelist. I love to make digital transformation happen. And that's what I'm doing currently, based out of Dubai, leading a lot of smart Dubai initiatives in the government here.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to this discussion. Yeah, thanks.
All right. So Shivagami, let's start with you actually. You have been into the leadership positions for quite a while now, and in pursuit to DevOps, you have been leading a lot of the initiatives in your organization and outside the communities as well. And when we talk about the women leadership, the first among many things that comes up is the diversity that the women's brought into the organization. How do you think that the diversity within the organization affects the organization purpose and mission also?
So it's a great question, and it's quite a deep one, right? So people talk about diversity and inclusion mostly from an individual point of view, but here I would like to talk about it from a company point of view. So there are lots of reports around women inclusion. So I think yesterday there was a McKinsey report as well, which got published. And it's more that the company is losing out than the gender itself, right? So we will be able to add a lot of diversity brings in innovation. Diversity brings in a lot of multitasking talent that probably the organization has never seen before. So with a little bit of support for inclusion and for diversity, and for example, women coming back to work after having a career break, etc., the organization is all set to gain a lot. Yeah. And in this report, it is written that just in the US, where 70% of the men of the managerial posts are men, even if we include just say 5% more of women, and if the organization is being more accommodative, then it is said that we can add 4.3 trillion, and this is a McKinsey report, to the economy of US, right? So I feel that this is two ways, but it is more more from the organization that we have to look at.
All right. Coming to you, Aparna, how has what you have seen in your experience? How does your organization's thought has changed over the period of time when you have leaders like you leading some or the other initiatives? How does that made a difference?
I would sum it up as three things: faster, better, and higher. Higher creativity,
Okay.
better in terms of supporting creative ideas and experimentation, and faster in terms of a competitive advantage which it brings to the table. So this is how I would sum it up, as simple: faster, better, and higher. Why? Because gender inclusion is no longer a diversity. It is a human inclusion. You don't need to separate men, women, and what are we trying to do? Take a seat on the table and experiment it. That's the way to go forward. It is no longer about people are not looking at money. It's more, as we are progressing further, I think after the pandemic especially, it's been more about the purpose and passion, and that's how the company is also looking at it.
Talking about purpose and passion, sorry, Bhavna, you have been leading other community-driven initiatives also. How does that broad change in people's mind or whatever initiatives you were driving it? You talked about some non-profit initiatives as well. And how does those initiatives experience, does it help you in the organization's purpose being met also?
I think it really helps there. So the foundation which I work, the entire mission is that we all fit in. Our organization should be an inclusive organization. And when I talk about inclusion and diversity, it is no, not only female. It is no. I don't think so. Diversity is only women being at there. Definitely having diversity with women leadership, it's a very great thing. Many organizations are feeling that requirement. And if you see many organizations today, if you just see a few years back, the leadership position by a female versus today, if I see in my own organization, the number of females today at a leadership position are much higher than before. But I have always felt it is not diversity doesn't mean only female. It's a lot of diversity. Diversity for me means a lot of seats. So in my foundation, at least what it is inclusion, employability. You should have all types of people, people with disability, people from economically weaker section, female who are re-entering job market. A lot of all that makes an inclusive organization, inclusive employability, and that really helps companies to innovate much faster, much better than what was before. And I think it is not about only diversity. I think today most of the workplace of an organization believe in DEI, that is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's no more diversity. I think most of the mission statements you'll see in organizations, most of them will talk all three in their mission statements. It's no more only about diversity.
Taking a clue from that, that diversity and inclusion is not limited to women. Shivagami, you have been leading a lot of other initiatives, being a leader within your organization, as said earlier. So, how does what sort of inclusion means to you? And the meaning of inclusion, how does that have put into action into not just limited to women's, but inclusion means a lot many other things?
Yeah, so great question. So for the leadership, I'm talking about inclusion in spirit, right? Because we do have it in the mission statements, and we still see that there's a long way to go. Yeah. So from a leadership point of view, inclusion means that everybody is heard. So here again, we're talking about, not gender, generational diversity. We're talking about, we spoke about the other aspects as well. Making sure that everybody's heard, everybody's ideas are heard, and then creating this kind of creating this environment so that everybody feels safe. So this is this psychological safety we are talking about. And also building a very fail fast, fail safe kind of an environment, which means so people can kind of make mistakes, but ensuring that the environment itself is such that we do have our safety net, right? So we fail fast, and the blast radius of the failure is not big. Yeah, be it anything, be it a technology experiment, be it a leadership experiment. So if we can have these faster feedback loops, if we can have this inclusivity built into our ecosystem in spirit, right? So I give you an example. So when we talk about people coming back to work, yeah, how much is this actually supported by the leadership, be it female leadership, be it male leadership, right? How are they accommodating for a woman who has taken a 2-year career break, or let's say, even a longer career break, and then trying to come back? Actually, from my experience, I have seen they come back with a lot of more determination, more focus. They come back with a greater purpose, right? It doesn't mean that motherhood is actually, I mean, they want to contribute, and realizing their potential, and also being accommodative. So thankfully, I think one of the good things that has come out of the pandemic is the acceptability of remote working and flexible hours, right? So overall, there is a general understanding that it's more about having the discretionary effort of the people. So a person who is working 8 hours in an office, maybe as productive as somebody who's working from home, but for a lesser number of hours. So it's not just the number of hours, and these things are all actually being recognized much more, which is good. So the other side of inclusivity and diversity is on the pandemic itself is not just the organization, right? We are having this kind of from a society as well. We do see that, be it men at home, it's always seen, there are a few things that are always understood to be. So for example, going for the PTA meeting or taking the kid to the doctor, these are always understood to be a women's job. Yeah.
Right.
And then when it is done, even if the woman is employed, it is always seen as, yeah, it is your job. Yeah, it's a part of your job. But if a man does it from the home, it's always seen as, oh, he's really contributed great. Like if a guy takes leave to attend a PTA meeting, he's a hero. Whereas if we
really well said.
Spot on.
I think as leadership, we should recognize that it's not about being in the office for 8 hours. It's not about, it's about making this inclusivity from a society point of view, from an organization point of view, and giving them the environment and the ecosystem to flourish, yeah, and believing in their capabilities and in their skills, irrespective of them coming back after having a career break. I think this is where leaders have to really step in and make it work in spirit. So yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you. Anna, taking what Shivagami was talking about, pandemic and other factors, do you think this COVID-19 has helped in any way the diversity and inclusion within the organizations?
It definitely has. I think this has really opened more doors for inclusive employability. I think she covered some part of it. If you really see females who had constraints of and have to take care of their families, it was difficult for them to come to a regular college, but regular office and all. But this pandemic with working from home option has given actually them a lot of options. They can take care of their families side by side. They can work also. So a lot of options for them to come back to and start their career again. I think then there are a lot of people who have a lot of location constraints. If you really see in India, the tier 2 people who have their parents, others, they don't want to leave. They didn't want to leave tier 2. A lot of companies in tier 2 were formed and they wanted local tier 2 people because they didn't wanted to come outside. That kind of a pool was not ready. But if you see today with pandemic, they have the lot of has been open for them. People sitting in tier 2 now, they can work for Bangalore, they can work for other metros and a lot of stuff. So that people who had location constraint also is now are open for a lot of options. Third, I think as what I do and under my NGO also, people with disability who have mobility challenge, for them also this is added. This has really added a lot of options. So definitely pandemic has given an organization a boost for their inclusive employability. But I feel there's some challenges to it also. People connect missing has led to a lot of attrition and all. And post pandemic, what will be the new ways of working, or what will be the new normal? I feel a hybrid, but not sure how some organizations are thinking more remote always. Some are saying hybrid. Some are already feeling that people connect is impacting. People connect is really impacting, and it's leading to high attrition in many organizations. Today, I think most of the IT company, the biggest problem is attrition and hiring. So attrition somewhere is added by the missing people. So we have to wait how post pandemic this new ways of working for everybody would be.
Okay. Coming about, when Shivagami was talking about comeback programs and how males and females are being differentiated in what they contribute at home. Aparna, how has been your experience over the period of years of when you have come back after having a kid back to your organization? How has people looked upon you, and has that changed over the years now?
It definitely has. I would say that diversity was a part and parcel of discussion, and bringing women to the table was a part of the discussion. But right now we are talking about the word called as inclusion. And one important thing to that is, how can we make this sustainable? Because every company is saying D&I. When I say D&I, it's diversity and inclusion. Now, how are we going to make it sustainable? Because when I came back from my maternity and all that, it was difficult to again fit in, where it was definitely considered as a gap. But now with more programs coming up, how can women be more flexible? Because flexible is going to be the norm. And I think we'll have to accept it in a very fair and give a fair chance to women. And it's not just about gender. Again, I reiterate what Shivagami says. It's not about women alone taking these kind of breaks. I think it should become a norm to talk that men and women should be treated equally, take breaks, come back, and should be treated equally when we are going to talk ourselves. And companies who are going to be planning for the next, say, 10 years down the lane, talking about a sustainable D&I, should make these data and data about all such things as more transparent, record such data and take the meaning out of it, rather than just tracking how many women are brought back after a maternity or after a long gap. That is not going to be, that data is no longer going to sustain now. How much are we making women more inclusive? I can probably quote an example. Say, for example, if women are returning back, it is not about just that. How inclusive are they during the discussions? Very simple thing, if I have to give an example, during a conversation or during a meeting, how many times are women cut out while they are talking?
Okay.
Can we record the data? Where is the data? And how can we improve on top of it? I think these are going to be the ones which are going to sustain organizations.
Okay. Coming to the next set of thought, you all have been doing a lot of great jobs in the DevOps area within your organizations and outside your organizations. And this is an open question. Anyone can join, can start with. So my question is, DevOps, the core theme is cultural transformation. And how do you think being in the leadership position, each one of you in your respective organizations, how does the DevOps movement has progressed over the time since you have taken over the roles? How has that made a difference of being women's in the DevOps domain? Anyone? This is like not one. But Bharma, you want to go for?
I think from a DevOps perspective, at least I have been into this from last 4 or 5 years only. Before this, I was more into digital transformation. I think I have always been a firm believer that DevOps is, a lot of people think DevOps is all tools, automation and all. I don't feel that. It's all a cultural change. It has to come from top to bottom, bottom to up. Everybody should feel that DevOps is something which will make their life easy. DevOps is something which is like now a basic hygiene. And if you have to do any digital transformation, you cannot think without a DevOps. The end-to-end everything has to be well thought. And I think they're having diversity different people to thinking together for a common goal, doing it together makes it much easier to get that implemented and faster. It really makes a lot of difference if all different people think same. DevOps is all about different people. Let it be DevOps, DevSecOps, is developer or operation or security team or other team thinking alike, come together and work for a common goal. I think their diversity and inclusion really helps.
Shivangami, what is your thought on this?
So again, a very good question, right? See, I want to look at it from two lenses. One is, as you already know, yeah, we spoke about attrition, we spoke about shortage of skills. So leaving out such a big set of the people in the ecosystem, especially when we have skills shortage, is really something which is not wise, right? So we have to be very inclusive of generation, of gender, of people with newer needs and things like that, right? So DevOps per se, yeah, what Aparna was talking about is right. So it's just a change in the way we think about how we do things. Apart from, of course, the automation aspects of it, but it's more a very cultural and a mindset game, yeah. So when we talk about developers holding the pager, or we talk about the operational guys getting into the architectural aspects, shifting left, this is easier said than done, yeah. People just talk about it, but when you make it happen, you need a very multitasking workforce. And here, I don't know, it's probably nature, right? The way women multitask, you're the only male in the group, but I don't know if you will agree. We are far superior when it comes to multitasking. Yeah,
Right.
this maybe is nature's provider. Like you will see her working so easily on the office matters, and then taking care of the child's homework, then taking care of a toddler, who is actually she's giving whatever food or something. I just feel that multitasking comes as a nature's bounty and gift for us. So and DevOps is also about multi skills. So if you look at the entire composition of a DevOps squad, right, we are talking about people not having very siloed mentality. So we're talking about dev and test. We're talking about people able to understand the other roles. So I think women fit in so well in the DevOps world, yeah, and mainly because of their ability to do a lot more. And again, from an organization point of view, if we can focus more on both the genders, of course, but again include, because we are not where we are, right? Whatever we say, especially at the lower rungs, probably people start with 30-40% of women, but then as we go up the ladder, we do see this really drastically reducing, and we have to get into the root cause of it. Why is there so less women in leadership? And that's really very it's extremely painful. Yeah, you start at okay, you start with a good base, but there is always this glass ceiling, and there is always this unconscious bias, right? Aparna spoke about not being able to speak in meetings, and this is like partially because of ourselves. Yeah, we have this barrier between us as well. Yeah. So how do we really help each other? Women sisterhood should improve. Men to women, the outlook should improve. And DevOps is a great binder which brings everything together. And I think if leadership can bring in more women into DevOps teams, there will be a lot of success. Yeah, there will be a lot of success by default. If we can make that as a policy or whatever, you will see in course of time that there will be better success rates.
Aparna, Shivagami was talking about breaking those glass ceilings and moving ahead. How have you managed breaking those ceilings, because of coming from a not so majority of the population with the organizations, and bringing change in the people's mindset? under the initiatives of DevOps that you have taken up in your organization or maybe outside your organization?
Right. I think Shivagami was brutally honest, and and she aligned it to the fact that women are naturally like that, and that's the truth. Let's accept it. That's how we've been, and that's how I think that inclusion has happened right now. We are multitasking everywhere, and brought ourselves by breaking the leadership. And in my case, if I have to put it very bluntly, I was a HR before moving into technology. Usually people are in the technology and then they take up people management responsibilities, engagement management. But I did my HR and then moved into it. It was a huge glass ceiling, even at the lower rungs. Let me not even come to the higher rungs. I am talking about at a very lower level where people had to accept, how can somebody from HR do well in technology? How can they grasp it? It's about learning. It is about your competence. It is about being ethical behavior and making sure you trust the process. You trust yourself in providing the best wherever and whatever you're trying to do. So from a strategic human resource management and moving into, I think the HR will play a very great role in the future as well, because HR should just not be a strategic team, and they have to come out of their ancillary behavior, ancillary services that they were providing in the past, and be a part of the business. Understand that because DevOps is all about culture, but that's what I say when I talk to teams. When they say we want DevOps, 99% teams talk about tools. There are a very few people. If I have to quote, there was just one organization where I have to work with recently, where they said, we want to bring out a cultural difference when we say DevOps. This is for a company and organization in New Zealand. They said, can you come up with a roadmap for us? That was a huge shift. And for us to think, let's build a shift. Let's bring HR into the picture. How do we make this and provide a roadmap for a company when they say DevOps and they say a culture? So I think that sums it up. My journey has been great so far. It's about trusting yourself and breaking the barrier by yourself. Sometimes I will just say, fake it till you make it, and then you make it.
Okay, good said. Bhavna, earlier in the discussion, there came up was that if we have this women workforce, let's say even by 5%, there will be significant economical benefit that the organizations and the economy will gain out of it. Coming to that point, do you think that women have more appetite to challenge the socio-economical status quo of the organization? And how do you challenge those conventions that people are following over the years?
I think, as you rightly said, having females and all definitely impacts. I think there was a study which Gartner did, and they predict that through 2022, 75% of the companies which has diverse and inclusive decision-making teams will exceed their financial target. It's always said that companies with diverse workforce will definitely outperform companies that they don't have. So I think having females and all, actually, what does a diversion actually bring? It brings different types of people, different thinking people together. And definitely females, as I think both of them have really covered nicely, how females are better multitasker or multi-thinking. If different people come together, I suppose I have to launch a product for India. If I get people from tier 1, tier 2, then metros and all, I bring millennials also, old age people also, then what the thinking which I'll give from different types of people, when different types and different thinking people come together, the quality of the product and the innovation they bring, the challenge they bring along with it, and the thinking and that they bring, this really result into a very good product, and definitely it really leads to better results for an organization.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to sum it up, this whole discussion. I know it can go on for on and on, but what you as women leaders in DevOps has to call it out for our audience and all those who are listening to you. And the question is that women leadership one thing, which is another bit of challenging thing. DevOps is another bit of challenging thing because you're talking about the culture and the mindset change. And now we're talking about converging the women's and the DevOps piece of it. How does you think the organization should pursue their DevOps transformation journey, and how does the women leadership will add value to it? Let's start with you, Aparna, on this. You're on mute.
I think flexibility is going to be the norm.
All right.
Trust the flexibility and make it look very inclusive, be it for both men and women and all people who are part of the organization. I think it's just not about women. Make diversity inclusive and inclusion part of your core values of your company, and drive it from here. Data analytics are going to be part of a very important part of this diversity and inclusion. Think about 10 years down the lane and start conversations in that way. It's not about today, it's about what you want your company to be, a sustainable organization from 10 years from now. So that's what I would call it out.
Okay, thank you. Shivagami, what is your thought? How does the marriage between having women's also with the DevOps kind of skill set, how does it will benefit the organization? What are your quick tips and suggestions of making it happen?
Okay, so my tips would be, firstly, believe. If we believe that this is going to actually add a lot of value, not little value, then it is half the half the job is done, right? So I think leadership should believe that bringing in diversity, inclusivity is going to really help. Financial economic performance is one, but also bringing in a lot of employee happiness, bringing in I mean, again, Siddharth, it's a known fact, right? If you bring in a woman into the team, you would see suddenly there is so much of gelling that happens within the team. There are like potluck events. Women are inherently very good in binding people together, bringing people together, right? So it's not just the economic performance. It's about employee engagement. It's about bringing in happiness. And we know employee happiness is customer happiness. Yeah. So these are very integral parts. So how do we make it happen? There should be some operating levers. We spoke about having operational policies around diversity, inclusivity, ensuring that these are met in spirit, and actually helping the people, help. When I say helping the leadership, also helping the staff as well, making sure that these targets are not just targets, right? So we work towards making it happen, and then you will just see magic happen. So the first thing is belief in it, which half of the time people don't. It just becomes on print and on letter. The second is making it happen, and then giving this support to make it happen. This will again, by default, we have seen. So in the UAE government here, which is the Arabic world, right? And you may actually, from a very conventional thinking, you may think that the percentage of women working for the government here, or even just working for the private sector here, is actually lower than else in the world, but it is the reverse. So here we have seen in the government, yeah, more than 70% of the people who work for government, who work in very technically advanced fields like artificial intelligence. So for example, there's an artificial intelligence ministry here within the UAE, right? And there, if you see the women working for it, if you see the leader who actually led the UAE mission into Mars, if you see the leader, we have the Expo 2020 happening here in Dubai. Right. And I suggest, you people have to really make an attempt to look into it. the leader for that particular event was a woman, right? So there it is completely proven that taking women leadership is only going to improve economic performance, improve the employee engagement, make a very, very happy organization, leading to a lot more success, a lot more business outcomes, be it DevOps, be it, even otherwise. So.
All right, cool. Thank you. Pana, how would you sum it up, the whole discussion, and any suggestions that you have for the listeners out there?
I think I have always been a firm believer that inclusive leadership starts with empathy. And I think females from our empathy, emotions, that connect, which is very much required. So what does inclusive employment, inclusive all that? It is that people should really feel connected. They should feel that whatever they are doing, it is being valued. Whatever they are doing, it is ready. You have to empower employees. You
Right.
have to really make them feel whatever you do, it is really important for the organization. I think their females add a lot of value. They really add a lot of value around that, bringing all this culture change, making more collaboration, all that. Such organization which really feels that if you even, I think Shivangi covered safe fail, safe fast and all that. If that kind of a culture can be brought, it really helps organization overall growth.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Siddharth, I wanted to add another point to what
ahead.
Shivakami and Bhavna also did mention. I think what organizations should also look at is reward succession planning and promotion processes, which are away and address the process of unconscious biases. Because when it comes to women, they think about they have responsibilities at home. Can we make that as a norm, saying that yes, they have responsibilities? Can we still curate learning process based on that? Can we probably bring in more mentorship and scholarship for women and address it as a fact that we are talking about diversity and inclusion, right? Include all this. Yes, it is part of their work, and yes, they can still grow. Can we start doing that? Will be also something I wanted to call out. I think that would that's what I wanted to end with. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, each one of you. And just to sum it up, I completely agree to what all of you have said. And I think things are changing. Things are changing for good. So, for example, the organization which I work, NatWest Group, was voted amongst the top 10 places for women to work in India very recently. So, putting into what each one of you said, it is like there are serious efforts that people are making, the organizations are making to happen. So thank you so much, Aparna, Shivagami, Bhavna, for being a panelist in this session. And to all of those who's listening it, the DevOps Summit Canada is happening. There are more discussions happening and discussions beyond these summits as well. So thank you, all of you, of being part of this panel. I hope you had a great one.
Thank you. Had a great time talking to all of you. Thank you very much.